everybody else. That's the problem that we have. Nothing's ever been done about that for the last 3 to 5 years, as far as I can see, long before I got here. And that's the reason they're gonna charge us more and still have grass growing up to our knees.
Okay,
That's
now if we
that's
all
the
do
point.
that, fine. All 830 unit owners stop paying,
Maybe we should.
and that's it. Then they're gonna call in,
Maybe we should.
then they're gonna call in a receiver
Okay.
who will cost us $100,000 to come in, and he takes money from the top, and he will administrate it and tell you what to do.
Maybe that would
So,
be better.
no, that cannot be better.
Why not? We're paying more than
No,
we're paying
no,
more than all the other
no.
associations
You've got-
in Inverary. Let me speak. This association is paying more than every other association in Inverary, and I see the other complexes surrounding our community look better and have the same or better services than we have here,
Yeah.
and we're paying 2 to 3 times more.
Absolutely.
Okay? Now,
People can't believe how much I'm paying in this place.
people are in shock. I'm almost embarrassed to have to tell
Yeah,
people
I
how
agree
much I
with
pay
you.
to live here and what it looks like
That's
now.
lying.
It's gonna get worse.
Right, so I think we should all get together, everybody, and just stop paying.
Can you be more
Oh, that don't make
specific?
sense
Can you be more specific than that? I own a place in Enveron, and Enveron happens to have a higher maintenance for same unit, Enveron Phase 1, than we have here. So that's a specific example. All this conversation,
The falls of Inverary.
I had a place in the Falls up until 2 years ago when I sold it, and the Falls of Inverary is not cheap. It's not cheap at all. So again, conversation, just throwing out words without any information, any facts behind it, it doesn't mean anything. Now, you can say anything, but tell me something that you can prove. Tell me something that's factual. Give me
Okay,
some
here's
numbers.
something that's factual.
I own a place, I owned in Falls.
You do not need a property manager here. It's not a legal necessity.
You don't need a property. What would you recommend?
That's an incorrect statement. You must have someone with a CAN
It's
license.
We don't
legal.
need Howard Carter.
Right. Someone has to have a CAN license in the place.
Now, if you're gonna hire a property manager, and we're over, with more than 50 units, or a budget of 150,000, whatever the number is, we're way over it either way, has to be a licensed property manager. Okay, you don't have to go with a property management company and pay all those burdens that we pay, okay? If you don't feel as though you're getting anything back for the money. But if you're gonna have a property manager, for our facility here, he has to be licensed, he or she.
Years ago, we did not have, we've had property managers years ago.
Can't be any.
We
cannot.
switched
Still
to
has to be licensed.
a financial management company that only took care of our financial needs. The association advertised, interviewed, and hired their own property manager. The problem with having a management company is you can't tell him what to do. You can't fire him. You have no control. You can't fire a security guard because he doesn't belong to us. When I was president, we got rid of those security guards and we hired our own security guards. So the association had authority over all the employees. Okay, so we could let a guy go or not let a guy go, or keep him or hire him or do what we want. But it was much more economical. A management company charges you fees and fees and fees. This way, you pay them one fee, $4 a unit, and they do all your financial work, $4.50 a unit, or whatever it is. And you go to them and you don't have to be a rocket scientist. You just say, how much would you charge? And you'll get a price. You check their background. There are property management companies available who will do financial management alone. They have the same GenArk, G-E-N-A-R-K, computer system as this guy has. It's a piece of cake to get rid of this company and put in a private management, a financial management, and let us put the ad in the paper. Let us interview the managers with the licenses. We're paying for a layered organization that's got layer upon layer of management and people coming down, district managers, senior manager, accounting managers, millions of people that we pay for. They're paying for that every day. And paying a man costing us 80 grand a year for that? So right away, we save 25, 30 grand, we can save $75,000 if we did that. And you can do it by giving them a 30-day notice, and they're out. And they have to transfer the things to someone else who has the same system, but this board of directors, the majority doesn't want to do it. That's a positive solution. We've recommended it a half a dozen times. Now, they want us to have interviews on Tuesday night, and we're gonna interview people that they bring in. We don't need them to bring it in. How do you think those people got to them? They answered an ad in the paper. We
They
did the
have an
same
ad on
thing.
Monster.
We placed the same ads. So everything that they're doing, we can do, but we got our hands tied because we have no control over this manager. This manager's coming back tomorrow. He's a lame duck. They're interviewing on Tuesday night to get rid of him. The board is gonna interview people on Tuesday night in different sections, and then when they're finished, they're gonna say, we'll want that guy. But we're not any better off. Now you're getting a greenhorn guy coming in with the same leadership above him, the same layered structure, and the same lack of oversight from them. Because we copy the principles of the company every time we have a problem, and they do nothing about it. They still violate the law. They still do everything wrong. We don't get it. We've been telling them about this. We had a meeting, Stuart and I, with this man's, the owner's partner, an owner of the company, last August. It's over a year ago. And we told him that this manager has to change the way he's working. Nothing was done.
Let me interrupt. And he was sitting there.
And he was sitting there. We're not afraid to say it in front of him. So this is the problem.
And it happens to be a woman. She said, you can't do this, Howard. You can't violate the law. Guess what? Continue to violate the law, pay no attention. And Steve Mason, who's the regional director, said to me, he polled the board. Everyone on the board is in agreement that the property manager has to go. So I said, what's stopping them? He said, you and Scott. They won't give you the satisfaction of voting with you. That's no way to run this village
No, that's
with
scary.
your money.
That's true, John.
What?
Even if we
It's
put-
scary,
replace the
that's
property
true.
manager,
It's true,
pay
it's
the
even
same
more
amount,
frustrating
we're
is
still
what do you
paying
want from us?
80,000.
We
What good
can't
is that?
vote on it.
There's no
What are we
game.
supposed to
There's no
do?
gain.
Listen to me.
Jerry,
What are we
We have
what are some
emails
ideas you have? You're a business.
written from Francis.
We're not allowed to talk. You're
Yes,
allowed
you
to
are.
talk.
Board
I'm not.
members.
I'm
Because
gonna
they
let you
can't stop
talk.
us from getting it.
You're
They
gonna
know
what?
we were gonna
Yeah.
get it.
I
And it
wanna hear
says,
what you have to
if
say.
Stuart and Scott are for it, we vote against it.
It's horrible.
Wrong, it's insane.
But there's no
Okay.
gain to get another property manager, and we're still paying 80,000.
That's right.
And you're missing a point, I
Listen,
think.
Let me hear it.
You're missing a
Jerry, go
point
ahead.
that is just being glossed
Oh, we
over.
didn't finish.
Go ahead, let Jerry.
Let him say his
didn't
point.
finish.
What's your
I
point?
want to hear Jerry speak.
Yeah, me too.
Make the point very brief, Jerry. What's the point?
You want to tell me, you didn't
Just
want
do it,
to be.
Jerry,
you
just
didn't-
say it. What is it?
Well, but he's
I
going
wanna
to cut
hear
me
it.
off.
No,
Don't
he's
argue
not.
with it.
Just get to the point.
What's your
We got a
point?
lot of bossy characters around here. It's a simple point. It's a simple point of trust and honesty. Okay, simple point. If you're hiring an outside company and they're doing something wrong, they're not doing the right job, you fire them.
Yes.
But
Okay.
if you got somebody that lives here, like let's take for example, when you were president. and
What do you
lived
keep bringing
here.
up? That's ancient history.
Okay.
They're all
No,
out
no,
of
no.
date.
Years ago.
When you get
Talking bad about
somebody,
you.
when
You're
you,
talking
It
bad
doesn't
about
matter, but it's ancient history.
It's
Oh,
interesting.
listen, Jerry, please. I don't want me.
when you get somebody,
who
lives
Jerry, I
here
wanna go home.
and they're dishonest, you can't do anything with them. You can't fire them.
Football game
They
is
live
a
here.
clock, Jerry.
Okay, so I think it's important to have that buffer where you have an outside company that if they're doing things wrong, you independently, you see that they're doing something wrong. We've gotten rid of companies before. We got rid of managers before.
You didn't.
Pardon?
You didn't.
I said we. I'm part of the we.
No, no,
If
he's
I
not
be-
president.
Who was
if
the
I,
we?
if I, if IV
Who was
does
the
something,
we?
then
You
I'm
said
paying
we
maintenance.
got rid of them. Who was the
We, IV is the we.
Yeah, I was
I'm
president
IV.
when I got rid of the
IV
management
is the
company.
we. I don't know what you're
And then
trying to
I
say.
went into
you're in
But
agreement
the point is, there is a separation. There's a layer there that's very important. When you have owners running, I belong to other associations where owners are involved, and you can imagine with what we have here amongst owners, having owners involved with running a big place like this, it's the owner that's in charge, the president, that has everything
No,
to
it's
say.
the board.
No. When you were president, it was you. It was
Oh,
you.
come on, Jerry.
Okay? Look, that's just my point.
Come on.
I like
Let
it.
me
I
say
like.
one thing, one thing interesting in your favor, okay, because you're very controversial. Let's face
Jerry.
it.
What?
Controversial.
I agree
You want
with
me
you.
to sit and let
Makes sense.
people...
No, I
I
love
won't let people kick sand in my face.
you. You're the only
Jerry.
person that ever
You will,
communicates.
because you haven't
No,
done
shut
it.
up, one
Jerry.
second. I'm trying to give you a compliment. I'm trying to give you a compliment.
Because all we do
That
is
if
argue.
one
Jackie,
thing,
Jackie,
if
Jackie,
one
wait,
thing
wait,
I've
wait,
heard
wait.
consistently over the 4 years that I've been here, if one thing I've heard consistently is that when Scott Samuels was president, this place was unbelievably fantastic.
But you weren't here.
No, I wasn't here.
Okay, so
But
your
I've heard
comment
it from
doesn't
more
mean.
people than any other bullshit
But
that
that's
I
got
hear
nothing to
now.
do
It
with
was good
anything now.
times. It was good
No, but I'm
times.
trying to give the guy a
Excuse
compliment.
me, I'm talking. I was here for 27 years, when I was here when Scott was president. That's all water under the bridge now. Right now, we have big
Okay.
deficit problems. We're living here. We don't wanna pay an extra month's rent.
I don't wanna pay it.
And that's our problem now. What
That's
to
why
do
I'm
about
here.
the management company
Okay.
and the board that's.
But
doing
if he's
nothing.
qualified, did he do a good job when he was here?
And we don't wanna.
Okay,
argue.
we have-
Arguing back and forth is not gonna solve our problem.
No.
Here's-
What is?
Here's the big enigma.
Back and forth.
Here is the big enigma. If all these things that we are saying is correct, it's the management company is no good, it's costing us too much money, we got a bad property manager, why hasn't this leadership of this board
Right, it's a
done
lousy
something
majority
about it?
board.
That's the question.
That's right.
How do
And
we
they've
get
been
rid of
told, they've been told this for a year already, and they've done nothing. So it makes me suspicious. What special arrangements do they have?
Yeah, and
That
they wanna
they're
be here
not
for 2 or
telling
3
us.
years at a clip.
Because nobody could be that ridiculously
And people that live here are very
careless
dissatisfied.
with other people's money. We could have saved tens of thousands of dollars, $100,000 this last year. That is the big issue. We don't want this manager to come back tomorrow. Do you?
Personally, I like Howard, but I see some.
I didn't ask you that question.
Well, I don't, listen.
Just say yes or no.
Well,
Say yes or no, Jerry. Don't be
I
vague.
think,
If he was employed for you, Jerry, would you want him
Would you
there
want him-
tomorrow?
would you wanna pay Howard $80,000
if we know there's a transition taking place, it's like the presidency. The
mind
president,
that we're
the
paying
president
him
of the United States is a lame duck president for 2.5 months. We live with that, okay?
Why?
We live with that, okay? Because we have an election
Why,
in
we need
November
somebody
and
to
we don't have him come in office
This
until
isn't an election,
January.
though, Jerry.
So
This
there's
is
no
an
problem
Jerry,
with him.
what about the
There's
fact
no
that
problem
he-
with him coming back for a week while we make up our mind.
Who said
What
it
about
was?
the
paying
fact?
him.
That's
Jerry.
all.
No.
He was your
We're only paying
employee.
one person.
But
We're
he-
only paying
Jerry,
one person.
let me
It's
talk.
fair to pay a manager.
Jerry,
We have one person
if he's
that's
doing
here
the job.
during a transition. What's the
Jerry,
big deal?
it's
But
a
if he was
minimum
working
of
for
3
you-
weeks. And
Why?
who's the, because that's what Steve
You
Mason
fire
said
him
it's
and you
gonna
do the job
take.
yourself.
That's his boss. Minimum of 3
All
weeks.
right, but the deal is done. It sounds like Howard,
So
so
you
you've
want-
achieved your goal.
So you
Now it's a
want
question
him,
of
you want
transition.
him to have access to our records, to the computer where he
Well, I
can
don't have,
sabotage things.
one thing about Howard, you may not be happy with what he does, but I'm 100% happy with his honesty.
Yeah.
He's an honest man. He may be limited in his physical abilities, but he's not limited in his I certainly would trust
I
him
didn't say he's
more.
gonna steal anything, I said he
Well-
could destroy our records.
Well, that's destroy. What do you mean destroy our records?
I mean,
Why
he
would
goes on a computer and does things that are negative,
Well, why
which
would
we
he
won't
do?
discover
why-
for 6
That's
months.
something that other people would do, but that's not something that he
You're
would
willing
do.
to take that chance, I'm
Wait,
not.
wait, wait,
I,
wait.
listen,
not gonna-
you're,
One at
you're,
a time. Here's the
Howard
problem.
Carter's not gonna
Here's the
destroy any
problem.
record.
right,
Here's the
exactly.
problem.
He's gonna do
When I
nothing.
was in business,
That's what he's
when I
gonna
was
do.
in business,
He won't
Doesn't know how to.
when
He
I
won't
was,
destroy any records.
When Scott was in business, he's
yeah,
saying,
please, Jerry, please try to refrain for a few
I'm
seconds.
gonna try.
And we knew that someone had to be fired. For whatever reason, we would wait until 5 o'clock on Friday, call him in, tell him he's fired, and give him whatever separation and vacation money he made, and let him go. Because an employee who knows he's gonna be fired, coming ahead, is never gonna be productive, could damage the corporation, and that's the way it's done in my industry.
Were you an owner?
Yes,
You were an owner, and
and
you
I
did
worked
that
for
as
big
an owner.
owners. And
Pardon?
that, I worked for big owners too.
But you weren't an owner.
I was an owner, sure.
Yeah.
And that's the way I did it.
If I was an owner, I didn't do it that way.
Well, that's too bad, but we didn't take chances.
I survived.
Okay, so that's it. And that's the
Well,
way.
geez, I'm not an owner, but I work for 7 surgeons, and when we're gonna fire somebody, that's exactly how I do it.
It's exactly how
I
it's
don't
done
give
in
them a week,
industry.
oh, by the way, I'm letting you go until you still find a job.
It depends
Yeah,
on the.
I usually do
depends
it
on
first
the-
thing Friday
depends-
morning, by the way. because
Depends
it's-
on the circumstances.
Damn.
Depends on the circumstances.
Okay, so here, Jerry feels that we should let this guy come in. Jerry doesn't care that we pay him $1,500, it costs us $1,500 a week for doing nothing, lame duck, and he's gonna take an attitude of, what do I care? Nothing's gonna matter, I'm only gonna be here. So he might be very neglectful in some of the crucial things that we have coming up. We got law things, we got a mediation this week, we have meetings with attorneys. We have to talk to other attorneys about settling a lawsuit from 2005. So there's other things that are coming that this man can just segue away from. He's not gonna be dedicated and interested.
He's
So
proved to
we
be
don't
that way
want
his
him on
entire
the
time.
premises.
Also,
Why should he be any different as last
managers
week?
have been accommodating to residents here. This man, many residents are
That's
very
his
dissatisfied
reputation.
with the way he.
That's right.
he
He has
answers
been
their
non-responsive to the
Exactly.
unit owners. He doesn't answer them, don't have access to him, he's always too busy because he's writing emails. Anyhow,
Not
that is the
responsive, though.
principal reason that we were here tonight, and I was gonna go and say what caused the money to be gone, but that's a long protracted.
You have 30
story.
people here.
It started with, I don't wanna go into it now, it started
That's
with,
that would be interesting to
Please,
hear. That
Jerry,
would be,
I'm not gonna
that,
do
well,
it.
that's what your notice said. Your notice said you were gonna tell us why we're in the situation we are. You brought everybody
Jerry,
here
you weren't
only
listening.
for a political,
you weren't listening, Derek.
what? Was I not
You
listening?
were busy talking, you weren't listening. You better learn to listen while you're
I
talking.
4 pages right here
listen,
of
if
why
I,
we're going
if I
broke.
didn't listen, I got it all
That's
here.
the
4
reason.
pages right
Joe,
here.
That's the reason, that's the
What's
only
the next
reason.
step?
It's not about the
$750,000
Wilma and all this crap,
worth.
it's because
Does
200
the
people
board
aren't
have any
paying.
intention of looking
Here
at
is the
maybe
next step.
Campbell or another?
He's
The
asking
board has no
How can
intention of
people
doing
live here
anything.
for
That's
4 years?
untrue. The board has a meeting
Stop
tomorrow.
interrupting.
The board has a meeting tomorrow with the lawyer.
Interrupting. What do you-
Joe?
It's a disaster.
I don't know, I'm asking a question.
Well, I know, that's the
I
answer.
can't hear 3 people.
That's the
Jerry,
reason.
it's
The
not your
board's
meeting, it's
intent
his, not
is
yours.
they're going
I don't want,
to
if you can't keep
candidates
quiet, let
that
other
Steve
people
Mason
talk. You're
picked
just gonna
out.
sit there, I don't wanna
Not
do
us.
this.
That's K and W.
don't know.
Is the board going, because what I'm hearing,
No discussions on that.
is the
Nobody
property
has said a
management
word.
company has issues also.
The-
Is
what's
the
that?
board, what I'm hearing is, there's obviously issues with the property manager. There seems to be issues with the property management company.
Absolutely.
Okay, is the board going to, in unity, take a look at other property management companies?
No,
Make a
they won't do
complete
it.
change.
That's a
They
shame.
won't do it because that was our suggestion.
That's a shame.
I'm telling you the truth.
So what good is this
It was a
board?
mistake in the first place. They
There is no plan to look at another company. There's no plan to do anything. They haven't explored it. So it means we're stuck with the same people who have done the same bad things all this time, and we're gonna be, so we're not gonna gain anything. If we got rid of these people, we'd save money immediately in the next 4 or 5 months. They're not gonna do it. Whatever reason, I don't know, they don't talk to us.
They're
That's a
still
good
in
question.
transition from Continental is what I was told.
What's that?
If I hear one more time that they're still in transition from Continental and that Continental.
What, 18 months later?
17 months later, and we're still the same way it was when they came in.
There is nothing going to change in this community. You're gonna get more of the same. You're gonna see a lot of activity with buzzing of committees and trying to resolve situations. This committee that's meeting tomorrow with the attorney, with Mr. Bro, the collection attorney, is going to review individual unit owners' accounts. They're gonna set up and possibly try to have another plan how to collect money better,
These people
but
aren't gonna
nothing
pay.
is protecting
They're
us
not
from the
gonna
big
pay.
picture
They're not
ahead of
gonna
us. It's a big open valley or an abyss we're gonna fall into because we're losing $35,000 a month and we cannot stop it. The damage has been done. I'm not here to give you good news. I'm only telling you that this happened there are some small ways to mitigate it. One of them is to get rid of the management company, don't have the manager, bring in new leadership into the community, which we can't do because they have the majority. So you can't do progressive things. If you bring progressive ideas to them, like, let's explore, let's interview other management company, not interested. So what's the point? We're just whistling in the wind. This is it. If you guys have a better solution, and not you, not you.
So you're so
I know
unfair.
you.
I have a solution. I have a solution.
That's
I wanna hear
your-
Jerry.
I have a
ridiculous.
solution.
How
What?
can we
We
exclude
don't
it?
wanna hear your
I
solution.
wanna
How
Oh,
stupid
people
is
wanna
that?
hear?
How stupid is that?
Is to
People
give over
wanna
control
hear, they're
of the
here.
community to the investors.
You give me a moment. Give me a moment.
No, I'm not gonna give you a moment.
Why not?
Because I gave you the answer.
You spoke for me.
Yes.
I
You
wanna
just spoke
hear
for
though,
me.
people are here
Yes.
for the
I'll
meeting,
tell
they wanna
you.
hear.
I don't know about you
Just a
people
second.
in the
Just a
audience,
minute,
if you can
Richard.
listen to this
Just a minute.
demagoguery. This
No.
is unbelievable.
Who wants to
Unbelievable.
hear? Who wants
He's
to hear?
speaking for me.
People here to
He's
hear.
speaking for me, and I have a solution, a partial
No,
solution.
I know your solution.
But let me say it.
No,
I'll
I
say
don't
it
want you
better
to
than
say
you.
it.
I'll say it
That's
better
We
than
don't
you.
have that time in our lives, Jerry.
Pardon me?
We don't have that much time in our
Oh,
lives
I'll
to
be
hear
very
your solution.
brief. I'll be very brief.
No,
I'll
you
take
got-
more
you
than
got a
5
minute.
minutes.
Oh, this meeting's over.
Let him
All right,
talk.
he's done. Let him go.
Well, shut up.
You have to talk.
I ruined every meeting.
You wanna listen to him?
Yeah.
Who wants to listen to me? Raise your hand if you want to listen. Anybody?
So people are
Yeah, we
here.
got some people that want to listen.
I wanna
Okay,
hear
thank
what-
you, Scott. Thank you very much. I came up with an idea, and I implemented it on a small scale, and that was to buy foreclosures. Okay, foreclosures are sitting around. A lot of them have delinquencies against them, liens against them. All of them, the banks are not paying the maintenance and not paying the assessments.
Okay.
Not that they have to pay the assessments. So I came up with the idea of buying foreclosures. And then I implemented my idea to see how it would work on a small scale, and I bought a foreclosure. It took some time. It took a couple months to get to the right people at the bank and everything, and I bought the foreclosure. And at settlement, I saw that there was $9,250 in delinquencies that were immediately paid to the association. So IV was $9,250 richer. Immediately, they got the September maintenance payment of $358, and now they had an owner that was going to pay regularly. They lost the assessment, but that's one of the things in Tallahassee that doesn't make any sense to me, why a bank doesn't have to pay a foreclosure when they're don't have to pay the assessment when they're the owner, and the rest of us who are owners when we sell have to pay the assessment. And I spoke to Senator Ring about that, and it doesn't make any sense, and he's trying to do something about it. But my idea from that little experience, I was excited, and I was talking to people, and in 48 hours, I got pledges of $1 million. Now, Scott says I'm bragging about that. It's a simple
No,
fact.
you wanted a conglomerate, which is
I
illegal.
couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe
Which is
it.
illegal.
Because it is so logical. And I say with $1 million, we could probably buy 20 to 30 foreclosures and immediately put the delinquencies or any liens on the properties right in our pocket, and we could have a paying owner.
And then what are you gonna
Okay?
do with those apartments, Jerry?
Let 'em out.
You can't rent them out.
Yes, you
You've already
can.
got more rentals in here than what a bank is gonna give somebody.
Yeah, but
a
that's
mortgage.
another, well, listen, that's another subject.
Also-
I don't have time to go.
Same subject.
He's talking
I don't
about
have time to go over that subject.
conglomeration, and that's
So unless Mr. Samuels lets me, there's an answer to that.
Oh, I didn't.
Well, I don't know who's, anyway, I thought that made sense. We can.
For
we
you,
can
you put money in your pocket.
Okay, now wait a
It's a
second.
rental community.
Wait a second. I don't like that approach. I took $60,000 out of my pocket.
Yes.
I don't have anything to show for it. So I didn't put anything in my
You got
pocket.
a unit to show for it that's gonna generate dollars for
How do you
you.
know that? I bought another unit for $100,000 that's worth $65 now. That didn't generate anything for me, did it? I bought it from my
No, you
father,
can buy some
but
too,
it
if
went
you
down.
did
You're
it.
entitled to buy.
I'd be
The
happy
point-
if you
I'm
did.
taking the risk. I'm the investor. I'm
No,
taking
you'll
the
buy.
risk.
Don't go over 4, nobody cares.
Pardon me?
As long as you don't own over 4 units, no one cares.
Again, the point is, I believe that getting rid of foreclosures is good for everybody.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
It's good for, no,
Yes.
but Mr. Samuels just doesn't believe that.
Yes, I
He
do.
believes,
Yeah,
well, he
no.
wants to do it this way. He wants investors. After telling you about how difficult things are in the village, he wants the investors to lend the money to the village. So the village then can buy the
Yes,
foreclosures.
that's what we
That
should
is the
do.
dumbest thing I ever heard.
Dumbest?
The dumbest. The absolutely.
do it
Why
then.
would when one breath
don't
when
have
you're
to do
talking
it that
about
way, Jerry.
foreclosures, pardon me, when you're talking about bankruptcy.
Jerry, you said you're
why-
gonna be very short, meanwhile, you're 10 minutes already.
I'm done.
And
I'm
this
done.
is
That's
what
fine.
you're
I'm not
saying
saying
the same
anything
thing.
interesting. I'm done.
I heard all this.
Let me just tell you how you can do it.
Wait,
What Jerry's talking about is a REIT, okay, a real estate investment trust.
Yeah.
All right? The problem here that you don't hear from the investors is, like this gentleman down here stated, you're not gonna be able to get mortgages here because we're way over. Okay?
We're over
And the
anyway.
amount of investors.
Be lucky if you can come in
Secondly,
and pay
all the
cash.
votes, the village is gonna be controlled by the investors. I
We're
went back for 6 years
We're
of
over that
elections.
anyway.
And the swing
So,
vote here
let's
is
do
only
it.
35 votes of who gets first place on the board and who comes in fourth. Because we used to have every year, 3 people. So the investors are gonna control the vote and get whoever they want on the board. Now, I'm in agreement with Jerry, because I invest in properties too. Establish a REIT, all right? Get the investors to put the money into that. And then you get stocks. You wanna do it the right way, then each investor, depending on how much they put in, gets stocks. But you put the trust into the association's name.
Yeah.
You don't have voting rights on that. You let the association manage the investment. And when you wanna sell out, you sell your
Like they're
stocks,
managing this place.
okay?
I
against
respect Joe's thoughts. He's a very bright guy, and he's the most knowledgeable, I'd say, including Scott, in my opinion, about these things. And I think that he has good ideas. The only argument that I find a problem with, and I think is in today's world doesn't merit the attention, is this fear of having too many investors who therefore, because they're investing, have to rent. I think there's a cycle going on, and right now we're at the bottom of we're hopefully near a bottom of a bad cycle, where investors are a good thing because they can put the maintenance back, the units and the maintenance back on the roll. Those 30 units would bring about $10,000 into the treasury every month that we're losing now. And when the cycle gets better and the units become worth more, those very same investors are going to want to go out and sell to unit owners. Okay? So the problem will take care of itself because it's a bogus argument, in my opinion, okay, to say that if you have so many more investors and you have so many more rental units, you're not going to be able to go out and get a mortgage. You can't get a mortgage anyway. You could have 1% in investors that you can't go out and get a mortgage today. So it's not a real argument.
People are getting mortgages every day.
Would you keep quiet? You have your time to speak, okay?
It's my meeting, Jerry.
I
You're the one that
understand,
should
so
keep
you
quiet.
can talk, but let me just finish what I have
You
to
keep
say.
talking, you talk more than Scott
I
today.
have all this on tape. We'll see how
Good.
much you talked and how much I talked.
cares?
Okay, who cares? Okay.
You're not
my
supposed to
point
say a
is-
word except answer a
My
question.
point is that
Every meeting you say the same thing about investors.
This is the time that we have to realize, in order to get the money that's necessary to keep from having additional assessments, we have to realize that it's people who have money that are going to be able to make the units pay. Okay, and if the truth of the matter with the list that Kim has there's 115 units that are more than 90 days delinquent. 100 of them are owner occupied. They're not investors. 15 are investors. Okay, so you see what the problem is. The problem is not with investors. And I'm not blaming the unit owners. They have legitimate problems why they can't pay, because that property is not an income to them. It's a home and it's a burden to them. Where the investors have it easier because they bought it as an investment and it's bringing them income, so it's easier for them to pay. Well, this is the time we need people who can pay. And the people who can't pay, it's unfortunate. I'm not calling them making any less of them. We need to sit down, and that's what this this collection committee tomorrow is meeting with the lawyers to find out what legal rights we have to sit down with individual owners and find out who are owners with legitimate problems that we can help, and if we can help them, we're going to help them. And some that are not legitimate, they're investors who maybe put money in there and then aren't paying. Those are bad people. They have to be gotten rid of, and then we need to put a lien on their property, and we got to get rid of them. But real people who put 20% down and maybe have $40,000 in their property, and because they bought it at the wrong time and they're underwater, those people, if we can help by going to the bank with them and organizing a short sale, so instead of them owning it for the mortgage of $120,000, they own it for the real price of $80,000, maybe we can help them if we work with them. So that's the purpose of this collection committee, to see, put a little heart into this thing, and and make a list of all the owners that are delinquent, and see who is salvageable, who isn't salvageable, who owes just a little, who owes a lot, and we're going to try to help people. Thank you for. I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is that what you wanted to do 2 years ago?
Okay.
It's the same thing.
10 years ago, we had a similar problem, not as bad as it is now, where properties were going very cheap. So we went to the bank and we asked them to borrow $100,000 so we could buy a couple of apartments. The association, because if the association owns an apartment, it doesn't carry a vote. Any association-owned apartment does not have a vote. If it goes to an investor, Doug Myers, and Jerry Miro, Michael Schenkel, Eli Weiss, Yom Tobian, all of these guys have votes, one for each apartment. Some
If they
of them have
pay,
10, some of them 5, some have 15, some have 20. They are going to control the village if they get a vote. What Joe said, if it went into a trust in the association's name, and it only had, and the association has no right to vote, and those apartments that they want to buy are in that trust, I agree 100%. 10 years ago, we went out and we bought 2 apartments. We cleaned them up, we upgraded them, we rented them, we sold them. We had someone in the office who was running the real estate department, and we never lost a nickel on it. We went back to the bank and we borrowed $400,000 more. When we borrowed 100, we used the 2 apartments that we bought as collateral. We borrowed $500,000. We used the apartments as collateral. So the bank was protected all the time because the property value that we were adding in by upgrading it with our own workmen and selling it and renting it immediately accomplished what we needed. So when Jerry came up with his idea and he wanted a consortium to get together and have the opportunity to do this. Well, it's illegal. The state requires 1 apartment, 1 vote. So we're not going to do that. And our condo doc says no corporations or other entities, personal people, private people, are the only ones that can buy here. This is a community of resident owners. So we are selling our souls to the devil if we let other people who don't live here buy and own these things. So when Jerry Merrill told me this story a second time, he said, look, that's my solution. You got a better idea? I said, yeah. I said, get your $1 million, come to the association, and we'll lend it to us, and we'll pay you 8%. If you're an investor, 8% is good on your money. Let the association buy, upgrade, and keep the apartments, and they don't have votes. And we got control of the situation. That's what you should do.
First of all, you can't do it because the association is precluded with our agreement with Wachovia from any additional debt. So the agreement we have...
No, you're wrong, Jerry.
I was there.
Jerry,
How am I wrong?
I'll tell you how you're wrong.
Please
you
do.
didn't read the whole contract.
Please do.
It says we cannot take any more obligations without their approval.
Right, exactly.
You didn't say that just now.
Well, I
You said
understand
we
that, but
can't-
they're not going to give us approval on
How
it.
do you know?
Well, you're assuming they will. I'm assuming they won't because of banks today.
Well, we
Why
haven't
would
tried.
they? All right. Well,
We
but
won't
you
go
didn't add that to your
No.
position.
I
My
don't give up.
position is
I don't
that is
give
not a
up. I've
viable.
tried.
That's not a viable solution
It is.
because I don't think they're going to
Okay,
allow
Jerry,
us to add
this
debt.
issue's
We
dead
have to
now.
ask
Can we
them.
bury it? Okay, can we stop this thing with the investors already? Anyone want to hear more about it? Why don't you go talk to him after and give you some information? Anyhow, I think we've covered a lot of things. We had some points in here that we want to make, that we had about hundreds of illegal residents in the village. You don't know, and you won't know until who they are until a census is taken. The leadership refuses to take a census. They absolutely refuse. At the last board meeting, they asked me to do it, and I asked for total authority as chairperson, and they said, forget about it. We want to control you, so they can't do that. Drugs, whether you know it or not, drugs and prostitution are prevalent in International Village today. Okay? Am I correct, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is prevalent mean?
Okay, prevalent
There's
means
a lot of it.
A lot of it.
lot of
Okay,
it.
that's what I want to know.
any
You mean it's a
stranger,
lot.
any
Okay.
stranger,
All you have to do, let me interrupt, all you have to do is take a ride around here about 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's wide
I'm
open,
sleeping, by the
okay,
way. Okay.
this is, wait,
but I'm not.
wait, any stranger,
Outlet for drugs and prostitutes.
Look at some action. You're making sure it's still prevalent. Making sure it's still going on.
Give me your number, Joe.
any stranger can enter IV any time of the day or night without being stopped. That's the type of security we have. We have virtually no security enforcement. There is no enforcement of any IV rules. Pets, speeding, illegal passes, garbage disposal, garbage is tossed into the mail rooms and the laundry rooms. Because of this, we can expect now an increase of rats in the village because these illegal residents have never gone through orientation. They've come in from some outside source, hidden into the apartments, walk in through the gate, and they don't know the association rules, and they won't make themselves public, because if they make themselves public, they get kicked out. So they don't know the rules, so they put the garbage in the mail room, or they throw it on the floor in the laundry room, or they carry bleach in the halls, or they do everything. These illegal residents have to be put out, and we have to replace them. They don't want to do that, but that's a very dangerous thing. So you have to ask the question. This is going on. This is the same question that you asked about why we kept this management company. Why hasn't this leadership of this community gone ahead and enforced these rules? They don't enforce them. We don't have committees to enforce them. Okay. KW Management was hired specifically to run International Village. That is what we pay them for. Board member Paul Pickus, in most of his emails, he says that all complaints should be referred to the management company who should correct them. And that is the right way to do it, because the board is supposed to be making policy, not enforcing the rules. But no one answers any complaints from the bottom layer to the top layer in the company. KW has taken our money every month for the past 17 months and failed to keep their promises. They violated our contract immediately by not coming up with a preventive maintenance program. We had a meeting last August where we met with some of their higher-ups, and he had a pitiful, ridiculous preventive maintenance program. Joe came at that meeting, and he showed them his program. They were amazed. We said, maybe you ought to hire Joe to come work for KW, so he had the right kind of system. We never had a working preventive maintenance program in International Village. Okay. The board of directors, including Paul Pickus, who has stated that KW must go. He met with us personally, and he said, we gotta get rid of the manager, and we gotta get rid of KW. He said it, plenty of witnesses. He and the rest of the board refused to terminate KW. Even though Paul Pickus said it, he agreed to do it. He agreed to, for Dan Coco to go and lock Howard out of the office, but then he flipped over.
That's
We don't
not
know why
fair.
the
That's not
majority
fair.
board members still want KW to manage the village. Okay, we told you what's happened now. Okay, here's another part of what we write. A condominium. Just a second, I'm not finished. Oh, I gotta go back a little bit. I missed something here that I want to talk about, and that'll. Just a second.
Let me take the
No,
ball.
here. There's been no qualified full-time treasurer in International Village since January 2008, when Arthur Kahn was removed by the leadership. Arthur Kahn had served 20 years, almost 20 years, and was more protective of unit owners' monies than anyone in the history of International Village. That's the truth. He was in that office and he knows these brooks up and down. Robert White, the managing director of KW, said that he had a problem in dealing with IV because there was no qualified treasurer to deal with on a regular basis. When Jerry Miro became president, I believe you were treasurer too. Okay? Now we have a president who became president, Frances Mesereau, who made herself treasurer, and she's not qualified to be president.
She didn't make
And
herself.
during-
The
please,
board made her treasurer.
Please, don't tell me that board stuff. She's
It's
got
true.
the majority, she made herself. So don't use those terms. However, last year, we had no treasurer. Till Jerry came in, was appointed to the board in October, and he made himself chairman. Don't say you made this.
September.
IV does not have a qualified treasurer today. There's nobody who's looking at any of the numbers we have. Okay, here's one for a treasurer, okay? To this day, there has been no legal fee control log. Do you know what a legal fee control log is? Does anybody know?
Yeah.
Okay, you know that when you speak to a lawyer, you should write down how much time you spent with him, because you gotta check the bill he's gonna send in, or anything that he sends in, or he sends in a letter. You have to keep track of what lawyers send you. They're notorious for their billing problems. To this day, there has been no legal fee control log. We asked for it. We wanted to see it. Howard said it doesn't exist. We need that because there are officers who are allowed to talk to the attorney. They communicate by phone, email, and in person with the attorneys. They don't keep any record of how much of IV's money they are spending for lawyers. It just doesn't exist. How do you think KW management audits attorneys' invoices? Stuart was shocked to hear from KW, quote, "We check the bills from the bills," which means there's no checking or oversight. When you get a lawyer's bill in International Village, you mark it okay and you pay it. No one does that in any business. You don't get bills without checking you got the merchandise. And when you're dealing with lawyers, you have to do that. We've been paying, IV has been paying all legal invoices presented at face value for years. In addition, some of the officers of IV call the association's attorneys from their homes and have no written record of those times spent on the phones with the attorney. The attorney could say an hour, 50, and you know, at $150, $200 an hour, 20 minutes and 30 minutes.
How do you know this, Scott? How do you know this? This is all hearsay to me. I was president for 3.5 months. I spoke to a lawyer once, and I paid him myself. Okay? So you're the one that seems to copy in the lawyer to all of your communications, even though you're not allowed to.
You know what?
I'm listening to hearsay. I just want the audience to know that this is hearsay.
Because K&W told me. Okay?
I spoke to Howard. Howard reviews all of the legal bills.
What does he review them based on what? If he has
based
no
on
law.
the bill, and
he pays it by the bill.
No. He knows.
That's what his boss told me. If he doesn't have a law, what does he pay you
I
against?
dealt with Howard directly, okay? His boss is in Miami Beach.
His boss was running the show for 2 weeks.
His boss is in Miami Beach, and I reviewed with Howard, and Howard looks at the bills. I know he got a bill. He was double billed by this guy Katzman. Okay, he was double billed by Katzman, and he caught it, and he called it to Katzman's attention, and the bill was canceled. So I know that because I was on the inside. You guys are only giving this audience hearsay.
You asked how we know.
Yeah.
And I answered you.
Well, we're going to tell you. We know that Linda DeKoff and Frances Mesereau calls the attorney. They don't have any records of what they did. Howard has no way to confirm that.
That's not. You don't know that. You don't know that.
Francis admitted it.
You
What
don't
do you
know
want to
that.
know?
Oh, come on, Joe.
Look, you need the people here. You can't talk about people when they're not here to defend themselves. I mean, it's only a one-sided story.
They can get up in a... This is nonsense, Jerry. You're talking through your hat. And please let me finish without interruption. Please. There is no record kept as admitted by anybody in this organization that anyone has any records that can confirm that when you receive an attorney's invoice, it is correct. You take it, you mark it, and you send it through. And that we can be ripped off because we don't know when Linda DeKalb talks to the attorney, when Francis Mesereau talks to this attorney, or this attorney, or this attorney. We don't know when they're sending emails and they sending an email back and what they're writing. There's no list of what you're buying. So how do you pay it? You don't pay it. I wouldn't pay it. Virtually every invoice received from any attorney is automatically paid without ever checking if IV ever received those services. That's bad. That's almost illegal.
So you're calling the lawyers.
Please, Jerry!
You're calling the lawyers.
Please, Jerry! Let me
You're
finish!
calling the lawyers a
Please,
liar,
Jerry!
right? You
Please
think
shut up!
you think the lawyers
Will you
bill you
please shut up?
for work that's not done,
Jerry,
right?
please shut up.
That's not what
That's
he's
not
saying.
nice to talk
Please,
to me
Jerry,
like that.
please let me finish.
Please do.
Cut it out,
They
Jerry.
all do that.
You cut it out, Jerry. Just cut it out.
Kidding me?
The same thing is happening with KW Management. Go ahead, Richard.
Can I ask you a question?
You need the log.
All of the board members are allowed to talk to the lawyers?
No.
3 board members.
Who?
And, no, 4. Francis Mesereau, Linda DeKalb, Ann Rosenson, and Michael Schenkel.
None of the other board members?
No, absolutely
No.
not.
Under what basis is Michael Schenkel allowed to?
Don't-
You have to ask Francis
Please,
that.
please.
No,
You
no.
said you wouldn't
Wait,
interrupt.
no, wait, you
Jerry.
just gave incorrect information. The only ones that are allowed to talk to the board member, to the lawyers, is the
Jerry.
president, the vice president, the secretary, and treasurer.
They have
That's-
all the officers.
I understand, Michael
Jerry
is,
has
Michael
all
is
the
not it.
officers. So
Okay,
they gotta
but
lock
wait a
up the
second, wait a
community.
second.
Come on.
You're also allowed to talk to the lawyer if one of those officers tells you to. I had a situation, you know.
We're not interested. You want to let us finish the damn meeting?
I think Mr. Schenkel's allowed to talk to the collection.
Collection lawyer.
Yeah, there you are. Okay.
Well, he's a lawyer, isn't he? That's why they're having this
Or
meeting.
anyone is allowed to talk to a lawyer that
Jerry,
that is given
not
that
the
permission by
issue.
someone
The issue
who
is
has
we
that
don't know
power.
what we're paying for.
Well, don't give Michael a bad
That is
name.
the issue.
No
Okay.
checks and
He
balances
earned it
on
himself.
anything here.
Huh?
No checks and balances.
Nothing.
On
There's
No
anything.
checks and
On
balances.
anything.
Let me
Not
tell
just
you,
lawyers.
your side is no good for you.
The same thing is happening with KW Management's fees. Their invoices are likewise unaudited and paid as and when presented.
By Howard, who works for them.
KW's property manager approves all KW Management's invoices.
That's crazy.
There is no board oversight. We never
Fact.
saw one.
Crazy.
So they're running away. They're still,
They're not stealing.
They're
We
not
don't know if they
stealing,
are or they're
but
not.
we're not getting paid for services. There is
We
no
don't know
doubt
what they are.
that there is no doubt that in our minds, that IV may have been grossly overcharged by the attorneys and the management companies, including Continental. The past leadership was given proof that Continental acknowledged that they owed us $18,000 and the leadership did nothing about it. We gave the president at that time, go and collect this money. They acknowledged it, never got it, $18,000, down the tubes. IV also lost tens of thousands of dollars since KW Management came on board in labor paid to KW's property manager and the office staff for services not received. We paid their payroll every week for up till now. Listen to this. They came in late, they left early, or were absent, and not one employee has ever been docked a nickel for time supposedly spent on the job and not being here. And we got ripped off big time with Howard and the staff. We would see them coming in, we checked out they followed up with their payroll records, no deductions. We checked months of payroll records, they gave them to us. No one didn't take one nickel. They were taking half a day's off. We had a woman who was leaving half a day to go home because she had 6 children. You remember that woman in the office? Was working there. And she would take off in the afternoon, not come in a day. She got paid full, every nickel. We complained. They said they didn't do anything wrong. Okay. There's no question. They came in late, left early, or were absent, and not one employee has ever been docked for time supposedly spent on the job and not being there. There was no time clock or any method of recording the time spent on the job by either the property manager or the office staff. Now, the office staff were hourly workers. Wouldn't they have a time clock?
Not here.
No checks and balances. You can't run a business that way.
It was a time clock by the door.
Disappeared or something.
Just came in.
A new one.
No, we're
No.
talking that these people never punched a card.
There always
No,
used to be
if
a
you're
time
paying
clock by the door.
If you're
I
paying,
don't know what happened to it, you're right,
It's gone.
there was one.
if you're paying $12.50 to $16 an hour to people who are coming in when they feel like and going home when they feel like, don't you think you need a time clock?
Yes.
That was stealing.
It's a crime.
6-degree roasted.
We told you this story, that we wanted committees 21 months ago, they didn't have it. We argued at that time with the other board members, and you were there, Joe, and we said, and you'll remember this, that we said we have to meet face to face with the delinquents. Call them into the office. That's the way I did it. Someone was late, come in. However, 21 months ago, the majority of the board said no. We now learn they want to start meeting now, 21 months later, they want to start meeting the delinquents face to face. Too little and too late. Now, committees are the lifeblood of a community this size. No 9 board members have the experience, background, and time to properly protect the unit owner's funds and properties. And because we haven't had proper committees for the last couple of years, that's one of the major reasons we have problems, because we haven't developed a group of subcommittees and committees to go out and do research in certain areas, in anything that we wanted. And it was all left to the board, to make the majority board, who made the final decision with their weird way of how they made their decisions. They listened to somebody else, a third party, fourth party, who they respected, and that's the way they voted. Nothing else. And that's about the end of what we wanted to tell you here. We don't want Howard back because he doesn't belong here. He's a lame duck. He's going to be non-productive. We're going to waste money. He wasted enough money in stationery this past year that it was incredible. Every board meeting, he would present a folio with a plastic cover, with a certain binder. And after we got the first one, we said, Howard, we don't need this. You want to give us contracts? Why are you making 9 sets of contracts, 9 sets of 30 pages? We must be paying a fortune. Our stationery bills went through the roof last year. We don't need it. If you have a contract, you want the board member to come in the office and read the contract. Sign off on the top that you read it. You don't give everybody a copy, 20 pounds of paper a week and expect them to read it. And here's the kicker. Half the board members don't pick up the papers. And they go to the meeting to vote on a contract, and they look at the other one and say, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do?
Would they understand the contract if they read it?
No! And we once asked Frances Mesereau that question. Did you read the contract? She says, we don't have to. We have other people to read them for us. So this is the kind of government we got. Okay.
How
That's it.
confusing is the package that we just got now to vote?
Well,
How confusing? I do real estate and mortgage contracts every day. I'm not stupid.
Let me answer
I
that.
looked at it, I wanted to throw up.
Let me answer that.
Throw it out.
Let me answer
You know what I did, Scott? That's how much I trust you. You said no, I put no. I hope you're right.
Let me answer the question. I defy anyone who can come forward and say they can understand those amendments.
Not for a minute.
Now,
I
was good
understood
at
them.
this, and it probably took him a couple hours to translate it. And he said, you help me? I says, no way. You're going back and forth. Oh, who has the patience for that?
And
You
the
know what I
wording,
would've
the
done?
wording is so tricky. It was like my real estate test when I took the real estate test 5 years ago.
I thought you did well according to Dan Coco. I'm kidding.
I did very well.
Anyway, what I would have done with it, I'd throw it out.
I didn't throw it out. I took Scott's opinion and I voted it the way you told me
Oh,
to.
that's not
If you
true.
go back earlier in the year, they asked this Mr. Bro to prepare amendments. They prepared amendments. They decided they wanted to do certain amendments. What came in from Mr. Bro, who was a collection attorney, and I sent Mr. Bro knows how we feel about him, because what he presented as amendments was an absolute abortion. and they were prepared to do it. If we didn't protest it, they might have sent that out to the unit owners.
Didn't we get a set of stuff though that we had to
Yeah,
throw out
we had to
anyway?
throw it all
Yeah.
out, that's
And
correct.
they-
Thousands of
They've
dollars.
had 2 or
Right.
3 mailings this year that they had to stop.
Yep, several times.
And each of these mailings cost a couple of grand.
I thought Frances paid for the one due, but
Huh?
I thought Frances paid out of her own
She
pocket.
did on
She
one.
paid on one letter, Mr. Bro said he'd pay on another, and Mr. KW on the last one. So what they've been doing is sending out mail, confusing the unit owners, and somewhere along the line, I don't think these guys are all gonna pay this. I think we get stuck in the end. Who checked that they're gonna pay? There's no oversight on our money. The whole thing is money here.
Not only that, the last, the amendments they sent me, about 8 pages, I needed a lawyer, I'm pretty bright, and I can read everything because of Marvin. I needed a lawyer to read that.
Okay.
Thank God that you gave us the
When
explanation.
that amendment was presented to us, we made some changes. They don't wanna hear from us. They were reluctant to do the changes. When we told them there were certain things they put into the amendment that was illegal, they ignored us. We sent a copy to the attorney, and the attorney, Mary Ann Chandler, said, Scott was right. You can't put that in because it's illegal. So they don't listen to us, they listen to an attorney, they listen to a third party, and the problem is, all of this is wasting time and money. You know
Well, I
how
don't
much
want to
energy
be
went in and
attorneys.
we still don't have amendments? Go ahead, Joe.
Can we ask questions?
Yeah, let's have it.
Everyone but me.
Well, you're too
Well, you tell me
long-winded.
what you want to ask, John.
Thanks, Joe.
Again, I've heard this, I can't confirm it. And I'll just ask some simple questions. If it's true, you probably can't talk about it, but it's my understanding, the board is suing the board,
That's correct.
Okay,
okay?
Okay.
All right, let me ask my
I'm
next
answering
question.
them, correct.
I've been told, again, I haven't verified it yet to go into the office. I understand that approximately $1,500 of association funds have been used to pay for an additional attorney so that the board can sue the board?
Correct.
okay.
It's more than that, a little more than that.
Here's what happened.
Okay.
Here's what happened. This is absolutely the story that happened. And this is gonna be part of the public record, so you might as well hear it. About the 1st of May,
May 4th.
no. About May 1st, you ready? You got this on tape? About May 1st, or April 30th, or May 2nd, May 1st. Paul Pickus, Danny Coco, Stuart, Scott, who else? Paul, me, you, Danny,
Terry.
Doug Myers.
and Doug Myers was there as a.
Terry, I don't think was there.
Who?
Terry wasn't there.
Okay, we met in Danny Coco's apartment. And we wanted to know, Danny Coco called that meeting. He was a board member, he was the president of the association, and he called the meeting. And he said to all of us, we would like to, he wants to get rid of the manager, he wants